All right, been a while since I did a video here, so I guess I will go over some updates, things going on here, and as you can see, a lot has been going on. So we will start with pit bikes, in particular the KLX 110. I've put out maybe 5 videos so far about jetting, and I've taken the carburetor off 9 times since I've owned it, and it's about 2 months old. I did the full airbox mod, which I may do a video on just to show you, but all you do is take the snorkel out of inside the airbox here, cut it to port match it, I guess you can say, to the frame outlet, and it lets a significant amount of air in. So I did that, put a uni filter in there, just a little bit better air filter than stock. And we did this big gun exhaust, which I did a video on too. So all that ridiculous amount of flow difference. And I went through so many different jets. And the problem is that the stock carburetor does not have an adjustable air fuel screw. I don't care what anybody says, it's capped. They don't want you to adjust it from the factory. For whatever reason, you know, I've seen people drill the cap out, pull it out, and then you get a special D-ring screwdriver inside to maybe adjust it, or take a die grinder and die grind out the air fuel screw. But as you can see here, I don't know if you can, this one has an air fuel screw. So from T-Bolt USA, I just bought a whole carburetor. Stock KLX 110 key-in replacement carburetor, and it has an adjustable air fuel screw in it. So I just scrapped the stock carburetor, everything in it, and went with this. So inside this carburetor, I have the air fuel screw, 1.5 turns out, 100 main jet, a 42 pilot, and I have the needle, adjustable needle from T-Bolt, and I have the clip dropped down 1 to allow it to be a little bit richer. So 100 main jet, 42 pilot, adjustable needle, 1 clip down, and the air fuel screw, 1.5 turns out. Live in the northeast, it's about 80 degrees outside, and it runs phenomenal. Starts fine. You even get to use the choke a little bit to start it sometimes. Runs great through all the power band, would not change anything about it. So I think the issue was that you couldn't adjust the air fuel screw for whatever reason. And I've heard that capped air fuel screw is seated, which doesn't make any sense at all. So that's a little bit about the KLX. I got almost 15 hours on it, so I'm doing an oil change, which is pretty simple. Right here is the oil filter housing. Take that off, 2 5/16 bolts, 17 millimeter drain plug, and from there, you know, it takes 1.1 quarts. And that is it for the oil change on the KLX 110. Other than that, I've owned it for about 3 months. You know, got 15 hours on it. I'm almost a little over 200 pounds as a grown man, and I love this thing. It is the most fun, maybe more fun than the $30,000 machine over there. So if anybody's thinking of getting one, make sure you get one of those. Okay, moving on to the TTR 110. So a couple changes on here. We did get a new shifter. The other one was a little bit bent. And we have a JTI Corso plate. So this is a cradle, this is a peg bar, this is a skid plate, all in one. I didn't do an install video on it, but it is amazing. Super beefy. It connects the motor to the rear frame, to the peg bar. So it adds so much rigidity to it, it's not even funny. Still a hole over here to change the oil from, with the widened and lengthened billet foot pegs, and the JTI kickstand. So a little bit pricey on the JTI parts, but as you can see here, really good quality. You know, it really sturdies up the whole motor. Oh yeah, and it came with the extended brake pedal. I forgot all about that part. So adjustable here. This is also billet, adjusts from front to rear. So you can shorten it up, lengthen it. We have it on the longest, and it's an over the pedal brake pedal. So comes with this billet section here too. Overall, really impressive. That's the only new thing we've done to the TTR. My son rides the shit out of it. It's got like 35 hours on it, so we're doing another oil change on it now. In this one, you just drain the oil, refill it. No filter. Got that rear tire worn down a little bit there. Not bad. Yeah, pit bikes are so much fun. We've had so much fun on these. If anybody's considering getting one, or if you think you want to get one for you and your son or whatever, but they're a ball. Okay, and on to the Maverick Sport. So let's see what is new from, so there's a video. We went to the Allegheny National Forest recently to Marionville. I haven't done the editing on that, but I'll get that soon. I took the toolbox off in the back just because it rattled quite a bit. Had a couple screws come loose up there on my rock lights from Woody's Lights, so I'm gonna have to get a couple screws from the store. But overall, this thing is running great. Got a couple 100 miles on the carnivores. Still looking fresh. So I've already did a left rear axle. I wish that I would have did the video to show the clicking noise, but this is the second set of rear axles in 1,200 miles in owning this thing. At about 800 miles, you heard a ridiculous clicking noise from the left rear. Took it to the dealer. Like idiots, they put a whole new gearbox and a left rear axle in it and a right rear axle. Obviously, the axle took care of the clicking noise. And about 400 miles later, here come the noise again. So I got a hold of Darren over at UTV Direct, and we got a Super ATV Rhino 2.0 axle. I did it myself. It was super easy. You literally just disconnect the upper and lower control arms here, and the axle just pops right out after you take the spindle off. The spindle comes off in one piece with the rotor, and then that second part inside comes apart pretty simple too. In the process, I also removed the rear sway bar. Took the links off, took the rear sway bar off. If anybody else owns a Maverick Sport, my biggest complaint is that it rides like shit, which is surprising for a $30,000 vehicle, but it just does. So I took the front sway bar off. That made a big difference, and not much body roll. Took the rear sway bar off. Quite a bit more body roll, but not to the point that I feel unsafe, and I can already tell that it's going to be a lot different. So rear sway bar off, new left rear axle, and the rear brakes, you can see in there, I don't know how many, I'll check the miles here in a second, but it needs rear brakes. It was $65 per wheel for Can-Am brakes. I went with Super ATV centered rear brakes, and it was $65 for the whole rear end. So saved 50% by going with Super ATV. It looks pretty simple. A couple 12mm bolts, pop the brakes out, we'll be good to go. So I don't really need to do a video on that, but yeah, everything's going good.